And welcome back to Sunday Square Off. On to our second bombshell story of the week. The Republican-controlled House of Representatives passed a repeal of the near-total ban on abortion first enacted in 1864, before Arizona was a state. The vote came on the House's third try in 2 weeks since the state Supreme Court ruled the ban is enforceable. The debate was angry, heartfelt, intense, and came at a personal cost for some lawmakers. Joining us to explain why the third time was a success and what the political fallout could be are Capitol reporters Mary Jo Pitzl of the Arizona Republic and Camryn Sanchez of KJZZ Radio. Welcome back to you, Mary Jo, and welcome, Camryn. Mary Jo, you've seen a lot of debates in the House and Senate. This one was just intense. I was listening and my ear was burning. Where do you rate this? How intense was this?
I mean, yeah, it was quite intense, but it was also very one-sided. All the very impassioned comments came from Republicans who very much, resisted this idea of repealing this law, or at least resisted repealing it so quickly, and made their arguments, very strong pro-life arguments, some with very graphic details about what happens during an abortion. It clearly was an attempt to try to shame some of their fellow Republicans into stepping down from the vote. References to the GOP was founded, to protect life. Our roots go back to fighting slavery, and abortion's a form of slavery, and we just can't do this. So very strongly held and articulated arguments.
And it appears the party is clearly fractured over this.
Clearly, because you had three lawmakers, three Republicans, who then voted for the repeal, two who voted to even bring the matter up for consideration.
So, Camryn, what was different this time versus the last two attempts to get it done?
So the last few times, Matt Gress, who's a Republican, had gone over to work with Dems. But it was Tim Dunn and Justin Wilmoth who ultimately also came over and gave them that extra boost that they needed.
And Tim Dunn, we have video of Tim Dunn being worked over by Senator Anthony Kern, who was next to him. There's Dunn in a pensive mood, knowing what's to come. And you'll see Anthony Kern, who's a very strong anti-abortion senator, came over to lobby him. It appears we thought Dunn was going to vote 2 weeks ago, did this time. Do you have any idea what was his explanation for his vote?
Well, he said basically this is what needs to happen, and that if we have the 15-week law in place, it'll be better. Republicans, have elections coming up, and this is something that they know is popular to have some level of abortion. And of course, there's this ballot measure that has a lot of support from Planned Parenthood and abortion advocates, which is going to be most likely on the ballot, almost certainly on the ballot. And just ultimately, it's going to be dangerous for Republicans, especially those in competitive districts.
Right. So the competition argument, the political argument.
Yeah, and I heard, but have not been able to confirm, that Representative Dunn got some pushback from members of his family, female members, for not moving ahead on this.
Yeah, I had heard the same thing too, because he was supposed to be the deciding vote again a few weeks ago, but this time he did, and then Justin Wilmoth followed.
Yeah.
Are they safe? Matt Gress, Tim Dunn, and Justin Wilmoth, are they safe with this vote politically?
I don't know that I would say that. Wilmoth kind of told me he did it for the same reason as Dunn. I think Wilmoth and Gress are sort of a different question because they're in super competitive districts, probably the most competitive districts. Gress and Wilmoth.
And Wilmoth, they are.
Yeah.
But Dunn, I think, generally is considered to be in a much safer district, but there's also the consequences that come from the GOP leadership.
And we saw that at the very end.
That's when things really got intense and very emotional. The Speaker stripped Matt Gress of his seat on the Appropriations Committee. And Gress is a former state budget director or advisor for then Governor Ducey. So, I mean, appropriations is like his thing. So he's off. And then they took off Representative Oscar de los Santos as well from the Appropes, because, I mean, you got to have balance, right? You get rid of one Republican, you get rid of one Democrat. But they also removed de los Santos from the Rules Committee. And different reasons for that. I mean, Speaker Tomo was on KJZZ yesterday, on Friday, and explained that, well, for Gress, he defied his caucus, and he went too far because after the vote to repeal was passed, Gress then stood up and said, I've got a motion. We need to send this over to the Senate immediately. It's got to come back without any amendments and immediately so we can send it up to the governor. And that was just way too far. It was really perceived as rubbing salt into the wound and very angry speech. You thought the speeches were angry before the vote. These were much angrier.
That was a very raw moment. So what's next in the House? It looks like they want to move forward with the strategy of putting a whole bunch of counter initiatives on the ballot to counter the abortion access initiative. And I heard folks on the Republican side saying, I'm not even sure these will come to a vote in the House.
Well, right. Well, now everything's up in the air because of Gress and Dunn and Wilmoth, and no one's sure exactly what they can get through anymore. And I'm sure there's talk of further punishments for some of those Republicans and maybe even Democrats being stripped from committees. There's talk of, there's an ethics complaint that's been filed against some Democrats as well, which Mary Jo reported on. And next, with the ballot measures, it's a plan that was sort of leaked to the public in an unfortunate way. That was a presentation that was created by the Republican staff on how they're going to put up ballot measures to sort of pull votes away from the Planned Parenthood proposal that will also be on the ballot. But since that's gone out to the public, I wonder if they'll try to alter their strategy because, it would look maybe a little bit bad for them.
Yeah, when they talk about confusing people.
Yes.
Not a good look. All right, when we come back, let's